Hi guys, this is Tobias, DL3MHT, and another one of my quick and dirty 10-minute uncut videos. Egg time is set. Let's have a look at these two books, which are one of my happiest or fondest childhood memories. So what is this about? These two books were called Philipp's Lehrbriefe. So as you can see, it's in German, and they basically are already very old. So even when my dad got them, they were already very old, but they contain very nice illustrations about electricity, basics of electricity, radio reception, a bit of thermionic tube or valve information, electroacoustic. A big part is about lights, because it was the Philips GmbH which were selling a lot of different lights at the time. And the second book is about radio reception, TV reception, acoustics, measuring instruments, oscilloscops. And I just want to show you, while these books were precious for little Toby when growing up, we just flick through them and I show you a few pages. I think these things initially came out as individual small leaflets, and later they were basically released as books. So here's the pre-word, and from the date it says, I think the first edition was 1952. And today is 2023. And when I got hold of these books as a little kid, I don't know, maybe late 80s, beginning of the 90s, they were already more or less out of date, but the basics about electricity and so on are also still interesting today. So let's flick through them and have a look. So the one key point about these books is that there are so many hand-drawn illustrations in there. So let me maybe zoom in a bit and make sure we are in focus. Okay. So for example, here you have illustration about, conductors and non-conductors. And you see the little man, the little electrons can easily climb through the copper pipe, but through the iron, they have a bit of a more difficult way. And then, the non-conductor is, not possible to pass through. Of course, we know today that it's not really electrons wandering through the conductor, but it's the electric field. But as a kid, this was really a great book to just look at the pictures and later on, read the text and get a basic understanding about electricity, resistance, power, etc. So let me just flick through here. And as you can see, on every single page, you have these very nice hand-drawn illustrations. And as a kid, that was basically fascinating. Here you have Ohm's law explained. Then there's a section about AC, changing direction. Always there are a lot of analogies with water flowing and with water pumps here to make it easier to understand. Let me see. We have here two books, 400 pages each, so it's a bit of an art to cram it into a 10-minute video. So I put a few post-it notes in here to find interesting pages. So here there's a big chapter about radio reception, and here they start with resistors, so connecting resistors in series or connecting in parallel, and how the overall resistance is then calculated. Voltage divider explained, etc. So also things you need today for your HamRadio license. Coils and inductivity. Here with the drawn magnetic field of a transformer, and the different coils, capacitors as well. Here plate capacitors. This video is a bit confusing because I'm basically just flicking here through and try to show you well, why this was fascinating as a kid. I mean, look at this, a very nice hand-drawn picture about a variable capacitor. Let's see, what else have I marked here? Yeah, here they have an analogy with the old water pump, basically, and they make the analogy with a rectifier. I think this is yes. As you can see, here it's not even a bridge rectifier because the diodes were very expensive at the time. So you had a transformer with a middle pin, and you could basically do the rectification with only 2 diodes. I think there were even selenium diodes at the time. So here you can see, the water goes up and down. That's the that's the AC, and then it's rectified, and then you have here the pulsating DC. And yeah, some of the, well, of course, the analogies are simplification, and also the idea of electrons wandering through the conductor is a simplification. But I mean, for the time where this book was coming out, it was, as I said, it was so popular that these individual leaflets that they more or less produced for the employees of the Deutsche Philips GmbH, in the end it was made into a book. And I think this is revision 6, but I think there are even more later revisions of the book. I think maybe revision 11 was the latest one. And here, for example, they explain the way from the light bulb to the thermionic valve or radio tube. I don't know what's the English and the American English word for it. But here you can see the cathode where the electrons are emitted, the gate and the anode. And then very nice explained, what it does when you put a voltage on the gate and how you can use it as a switch to regulate the predecessor of our transistors today. And I hope I don't get too much hate in the comments here from the old timers who can explain it much better. But as I said, for me as a kid, that was just fascinating to flick through. And as you can see, it goes on, and every single page has one of these nice illustrations and the text that explains it all. I'm not sure. I'm unsure if I should have made this make this into 2 videos or just one, because it's the text is in German and my audience is mostly American. So I guess let's try with the first 10-minute video, and if there's interest, I can go into detail. So yeah, this is the first book, and at the last third is more or less all about the different lights that the Philips GmbH was selling at the time, and what purpose they have and for which purpose they should be used. Let's have a look at the second one, which is a bit more HamRadio related, because it's about radio reception, TV reception. So for example, here you have a nice hand-drawn image of the ionosphere and the different layers, the E layer, F1, F2 layer. And then later they are explaining how the middle wave, 600 to 150 meter, are propagating during the day, and then how they are propagating during the night when they are reflected. And what else? Yeah, here are also very nice diagrams about, let me zoom in a bit here and make sure I'm in focus, about, for example, a superhead receiver. And you can see they've drawn it here with a horse carriage when the HF comes in, and then on the first mixer, the sound that is carried on the HF is, switching transport into a car. and then on the demodulation stage, the audio waves get out of the car and are, amplified or fed here in the NF amplifier, and then your music comes out. And this is basically why it was so fascinating for me as a kid, all these pictures and trying to figure out what it's all about, and later then reading the text. So I think we are already out of time. I have 2 more post-its here. So for example, that was the 10 minutes ring. Here we have something called a magical eye. If you remember your old tube or / thermionic valve radios, they sometimes had this magic eye or green indicator tube. And in order to tune your radio to the exact frequency, you basically tried to maximize this lit arc of the magical eye tube. And okay, see here, this was so fascinating that it's already broken. So here's how that indicator light was working. Here they have the mechanical schematic, and here they have the schematic symbol. And yeah, I think there are even more sophisticated tubes here with a coarse and a fine adjustment. Okay, so, and what was the last thing that I looked up? Yeah, and this was the book number 2 in, let me see which edition that was. That was edition number 4. And here there's already a section about transistors in here, germanium transistors, and how those work. So already, I mean, at the time, probably bleeding edge technology. Here you can see all information, and then there's a section here about RFI and how capacitors on a motor can basically get the RFI from a motor and get it to ground. And it's all very nice explained with lots of these illustrations. And yeah, I think you can see that as a kid, that would have been a fascinating book, even though the text was probably beyond me at the time. Here, for example, we have the TV tube, and from the basic tube they add, from page to page they always make it more sophisticated until at the end we end up with a nice TV tube. So here all the focusing of the electronic beam that in the end you go to the, in quotes at the time, modern picture tube. Okay, I think we are already much over time, 13 minutes. That should have been a 10-minute. But yeah, as you can see, there's so much effort that went into those illustration that even today it's really fun to flick through and have a look and just read the text. So yeah, that was fun. Let me just flick through to the end, and then we end the video. If you want to know any more details or are interested in a specific chapter, let me know. So, for example, here's an audio section about microphones and frequency response of microphones. What else do we have here? Here, 70-watt audio amplifier with transistors. And of course, there's always lots of Philips branding in here and recommending Philips speaker or lights or amplifier or whatever product they had in their portfolio. But I think it's perfectly understandable, as that was made by the Deutsche Philips GmbH. So yeah, Here, for example, I think there's a section about vinyl, and I think there's also illustration how the stereo information is encoded in the vinyl groove. Here somewhere, yeah, first they explain the stereophony, how that works with the human with 2 ears. And then here you have the stereo vinyl and how the left and right channel information is encoded in the groove. So, yeah, a very fun book for me as a, I don't know, 10, 11, 12-year-old kid. And of course, these days it all looks even more ancient. Yeah, if you know that you can get a fully 4-channel 100 megahertz oscilloscope for a few bucks, then things like this look like really the Stone Age, but one has to be aware that it's not such a long time ago that this was the only thing that people were really using to build stuff, like here microvoltmeter, and I think at the end there's some oscilloscopes. Didn't even know that Philips made oscilloscopes at some time. Let me see. Yeah, here we go. I probably flicked over it, but there was also very nice hand-drawn illustrations of, oscilloscopes. And let's zoom in here and get it in focus. So I think you see the attraction for me as a kid, why this book, even though they were already a bit out of date, like a decade or two when I got my hands of them, were still fascinating. And that's simply because of the effort that went into the drawings. So, okay, that was not a 10-minute video. That is more or less an 18-minute video. But I hope you found it interesting. And until next time. Thanks for watching, 73. And until the next video. Bye.